Hey Tyler, welcome to the MasterCard Cup. Just want to give you an opportunity here to view your swing at regular speed. We'll let that play on through. We'll put you back in your address position, and we'll go ahead and take a look at a few things for you. So while we got you back here in your setup, let's first of all just take a look at your posture. Your spine's nice and straight and on a tilt. Your legs come down into a nicely unlocked position. Your arms hang down nice and naturally off of your spine, and your club works out to the ball. So pretty good posture here. In association with good balance. But if I were going to work on your golf game, we would revise this just a little bit. We try and push your tail out and up a little bit, push your sternum out, up, and forward a hair. And what that's going to do is just going to increase the angle to your spine a little. Okay? From there, you can keep your legs unlocked exactly as they are, and then the arms will hang down nice and naturally still as they're doing from the red position, but now from that slightly more tilted spine. That new spinal position is critical because basically your entire golf swing functions off of this axis. So what's going to happen is right now when you're rotating, you're going to be rotating off an axis that's too tall, and I want you rotating off an axis that has your sternum and your head a little bit more out over your toes, and ultimately just has you positioned a little bit more into your golf shot. From here we can go ahead and take a look at your alignment. We can see that your feet are aiming a little bit left. We carry that out towards the intended target. Now theoretically, club face is supposed to run parallel to your feet, and parallel lines on camera would have an appearance to converge. And with that philosophy in mind, we can see that you would be set up pretty much just down the left side of the fairway. So not that big of an issue. From here, let's do a little split screen comparison between you and Chella Choi. We'll bring her up on the left side of the screen here. I've got some color-coded lines on the screen just to use as a visual reference as it pertains to swing plane. But before we get into discussing the dynamic motion, let's just look at the posture that I was talking about. So you can see that Chella's spine is just a little bit more tilted over with her sternum and her head out over her toes a little bit better. And that's ultimately what I'm really just trying to achieve from you. I'm just trying to achieve a better posture position. So ultimately when we swing the golf club, four primary things that happen during the takeaway. The first is we rotate our shoulders. So we can see here that Chella Choi is drawing the golf club back. She's turning her shoulders. When we turn our shoulders back, we want to extend our arms back towards us, the camera, and we also want to swing them around our body. So you can see she has good arm extension. Her arms are not compressing in towards her core. The third thing that we see is wrist hinge. And wrist hinge is very, very important. What we see right now is at address, the club is positioned below and in front of our hands. What we're trying to do is we're trying to get this golf club above and behind our hands. So we see that entire term that the club shaft stays on the red line, but we're working the club head from having been below and in front of our hands to getting that club above and behind our hands. And then from here we're working the club from red up towards yellow. The last thing that happens is with this turn, with this arm extension, and with this wrist hinge, we want to create this movement upon a very stable right side. So our right leg's very, very solid. The knee's the pivotal point of the golf swing. And actually the fifth thing that's occurring that we'll take a look at, because we discussed it with you right out of the gate, is the spinal position. So if I go ahead and just put a line on Chella's spine here, what we're going to see is we're going to see when she creates this entire rotational movement, that axis remains the same. And that's why it's critical to get the posture in the right position so that we can rotate off that spinal position. Let's go ahead and watch your golf swing on the right side. We can see here as you initiate your takeaway, your hands move out away from your core. So you're taking your club shaft and your club head outside of the golf ball. So one of the things you want to do immediately in your golf swing is you want to let your hands, arms, and golf club swing inside and around your body. We have to remember that when the golf club works on a plane, when it functions, or it's supposed to function along this red line, like what we saw with Chella Choi through here, right? That club shaft is staying on the red line all through this zone of the golf swing. Okay? It isn't until about here the club starts working to yellow. So that's known as swinging the golf club on proper plane. Well, right now your club's going outside of that plane. So your club, by not working on its swing plane, is not functioning on an arc. an arc being a circle, and a circle obviously moving inside of the golf ball, not outside of the ball. So when you draw that golf club back, first thing you want to do is you want to learn how to bring your hands, arms, and golf club inside and around you, as opposed to outside and sort of picking the club up. At this point in time, we want to see if you actually create some wrist hinge where this club head gets above and behind your hands. Right now we can see you're a little bit stiff-wristed with the golf club through this point of the golf swing. Right about here we start getting a little bit of wrist hinge into play. Club starts working above, not yet behind. Let's go to the next frame. Right there, see how the club now falls in behind. So your subconscious brain realizes, hey, I've got to get the golf club back here to have any sort of power at all. So that's a good move right there. I would like to see this, obviously, with you having initiated your takeaway by swinging your hands, arms, and golf club again inside and around you. And obviously off of a better posture axis by achieving that at address. As we continue to work to the top here, arms are starting to get into a really nice position with the golf club. We can see that you sort of stop turning your shoulders a little bit, so that's something you'd want to make sure you're doing throughout the entirety of the backswing. So when we're finally at the top, we can see here that you have decent shoulder turn. Your arms are in pretty good position relative to your core. They're too steep, meaning that your left arm's up and almost above the blue line, so we need to get that left arm down on the yellow line, and we have to shallow out your arm plane. A lot of that will be achieved by initiating the proper takeaway, like I said, by drawing your hands and arms inside from the get-go. So that'll have a domino effect on the top of your backswing. Other thing too, again, we want to create this entire rotational movement off of maintaining better posture. Little side note here, we don't want to lock our right leg up during this backswing. So we can see we started with flexed legs, and your right leg now during the backswing locks right up. It's allowed to straighten a little, but it certainly isn't supposed to lock. Okay? So at this point in time, we'd like to see a little bit more turn in your shoulders, shallow out your arm plane, maintain a little bit of flex in the right leg, and obviously create that entire motion upon a better posture or axis point with our spine right from the get-go. As we start our downswing, well, three primary things going to happen here. We're going to fire our hands through, and in doing so, we want our right heel to come off the ground at point of impact. And then that right heel keeps coming off the ground up onto the toe of the right foot. So that's what's known as proper footwork. This footwork allows us to get to a good finish. What does that mean? Well, standing on our left side, hips facing the target, shoulders fully rotated, hands high, club back in and behind us. Another thing I want you to notice is when we go from the top of the backswing through, notice when she uncoils and maintains the axis of that spine the entire time, all the way through to the finish. So again, why do I want you to change your posture right from the get-go? Well, because the entire golf swing functions about that spinal tilt. For the top of the backswing again, other than the proper footwork, which we got to make sure you're achieving, that golf club moves from yellow back down onto red. So the club is returning back to plane and attacking the ball from this red line. I'm going to actually point something out right here at pre-impact. I refer to this as the backwards check mark. It's the relationship between the lead forearm and the golf club. This position right here is critical because it's going to allow us to create power and accuracy, be able to hit the ball straight. Now what I want you to notice is she's coming in the ball achieving this position. I want to go back to address and talk about that wrist hinge. When we bring the golf club back and we create that wrist hinge early on in the golf swing here, notice we achieve the exact same position. So she has her backwards check mark coming back. Now what we do is we get to the top of the backswing and we return right back into that backwards check mark. Okay? That's how critical that position is. So if we want to hit the ball with power and we want to have accuracy, we have to achieve this position in association with good alignment, and we also have to have a good grip to square the club face up. So three things we need in a golf swing to be accurate and hit the ball far. We have to have good aim, we have to have good downswing plane, achieving this backwards check mark that returns to the red line, and then we have to have a good grip so that all comes together by the club face squaring up. So let's watch your downswing here. Unfortunately, from your steep arm position and standing up, I have a feeling you're going to come over the top. So your hands are going to shoot down yellow out towards blue, and that's exactly what's happening. And when we make that over the top move, we're throwing the club away out in front of us. So what I can do here is I can go ahead and mark your club head. We can clearly see that your club is not returning back to plane. As we go to the next frame, the club will move further out in front of you. Next frame, further, let me get rid of the arrows. Next frame, further out in front again. And next frame, further out in front to being outside of the golf ball. So if we just sort of connect the dots here, this will give you a very good visual sense as to what your descending plane was. Okay, we've come over the top from a steep position. The golf club is traveling from outside to inside. And we haven't really created any footwork or knee work, so we do have to understand what the proper dance move is to impact with our lower body. Because when we get to impact here, of which we will show you where Chela's club comes from, it comes into the ball directly from this red line or just slightly underneath. And as I stated already, this is what produces straight golf shots in accordance to our alignment, lastly assuming club face squares up. But I also want you to notice she's coming off her right heel. She's getting off onto her left side. She's posting up on a nice tall left leg with the hips open. So we want to learn how to create that proper movement to impact utilizing our lower body. Getting back to the club and the path, seeing that the club head is coming in from a vastly different location or plane, what I want to do now is I just want to look at the path of the club. We can see with Chela, her club is inside the ball, expanding out to make contact. The club then moves through in a nice natural subtle arc. Your club is stuck outside the ball, dropping down and across to make contact now, and it keeps moving across. So simply put, what happens here, if we square the club face up to that path, we'll hit the ball solid, but obviously the ball is going to go in that direction to the left of where we're swinging and also where we're aiming. If we over-release the club to the path, not only does the ball get pulled to the left, but it's going to have a little right to left spin, and we're going to hit some form of a pull draw or pull hook. If we happen to leave the club face a little open to the path, this is when the shots turn out. The ball gets blocked a little right of this. We have a little bit of left to right spin by having the face open, and we can hit a nice little fade that stays on line. If we happen to leave the club face too open, also to the red path, incredibly we can start the ball even further right, even though we're swinging left. At that point in time, we need to realize that the club face was massively open. We're imparting a ton of left to right spin, and we're hitting a block slice. So the end result of your golf shot is dictated based on the timing of the club face. Because the club is attacking the ball from outside, striking the ball, moving to the inside, if the club face squares up, it follows red. If it over-releases, continues down the smaller red arrows. Leave it wide open, follows blue. And if we time it properly, we'll follow yellow, and will turn out to be a half-decent shot. I want to now continue to watch your foot activity with your right foot coming through, see if you actually do anything with it. So the heel's starting to come off the ground, but we don't complete the footwork. So we can see your upper body's wanting to get to a finish, but it can't because the lower body's just not working properly. So add impact there, get the right heel off the ground, and just learn to create this footwork right here we're going to see with Chela Choi. Get up off the heel, onto the toe, and that'll get us to our left side, and that'll allow your hips to square around. Okay? And it'll aesthetically obviously make your finish look a lot better. It's a pretty easy move. When we're at the top of the backswing, we're just going to fire those hands through. Just get that right heel to come off the ground, up on the toe of the right foot. That'll put your weight on your left side, and then automatically your hips will square around, and your upper body can easily get to a finishing position that it's trying to get into right now. Okay? Anyways, overall, you got some nice athletic characteristics in your golf swing. I mean, your hands work really well. They come back, they fire through. Your core works okay. You coil back, you uncoil through. You got a little bit more room for a little bit more turn coming back. You got a little bit of footwork. We don't really get to the finish, so we definitely want to create or establish that proper footwork through to the finish so we can actually get to an aesthetically better finish. And then at that point in time, number one thing we need to do is we need to change your starting position. We need to improve that posture. The second most important thing we need to do is when we bring the golf club back, we got to let these hands, arms, and club move inside and around us. That'll automatically shallow out the top of your backswing, which will automatically now have a domino effect and reduce the amount you now come over the top. So once we improve the alignment, definitely improve your posture. Swing those hands and arms inside and around us to shallow out the top of your backswing. Downswing will automatically improve. Let's carry that swing through with proper footwork to the finish. At that point in time, you can now sort of take a look and say, hey, with my better posture, swinging my hands and arms inside, shallowing out my swing, coming into the ball better, getting through to a good finish, let's now check out and see how close you are to swing the club down on a proper plane. And at that point in time, you can go ahead and fine-tune that and get you on perfect plane and start hitting the ball even further and even straighter. Okay? So you have a lot of potential. Again, like I said, there's a lot of athletic characteristics in your golf swing, but there are some fundamental things that definitely need to change. Okay? If at any point in time you ever want to work on any of these aspects, I'm over at Glen Abbey in Oakville. I'd be happy to structure a program for you. Also, if you guys are involved with any golf tournaments at all, you're looking for a unique gift to give your guests, feel free to touch base. I'd be happy to discuss my swing analysis services. Anyways, I hope you had a fabulous day, and I hope you enjoyed getting an opportunity to see your swing on video. Take care.